In March 2007, Pantila, a nurse, gave a baby an injection of insulin at a family gathering. A few days later, she murdered a mentally disabled patient she was caring for. She was apprehended, put on trial, and convicted of the murder of the patient and the attempted murder of the baby. In March 2010, Pantila was found dead in her prison cell. She was found guilty of murdering a mentally disabled patient and attempting to murder a healthy 8-month-old baby with insulin. A Finnish nurse dubbed the Angel of Death for murdering a mentally disabled patient and attempting to murder a baby with insulin was found dead in her jail cell, police said Tuesday. She has perished there, an officer with the police in Turku on the west coast of Finland told AFP, confirming that Katariina Pantila, 28, died after resuscitation efforts in her cell at a Turku jail Monday. Last week, an appeals court upheld a life sentence for Pantila, formerly known as Katariina Loenkvist, for the murder of a 79-year-old bedridden woman by injecting her with insulin at a rehabilitation center in 2007. She was also found guilty of trying to kill a healthy 8-month-old baby with a potentially lethal dose of insulin at a family gathering only days before the murder. Police were investigating the cause of Pantila's death, they said in a statement. Nurse gets life sentence in insulin murder case. Tampere District Court imposed a life sentence on a nurse from the city of Nokia who had been found guilty of murder and attempted murder in the insulin poisoning death of a patient. The nurse, 27-year-old Mary Tuulia Lundqvist, is to appeal the case, said her lawyer Pertti Patrikainen, immediately after the decision, suggesting there was room for reasonable doubt. The Tampere unit of the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, is also investigating another case in which Lundqvist is implicated in a death by morphine overdose. A final assessment by a forensic pathologist is still to come, but the matter could move forward already this month. Already 6 months ago, the court found that Lundqvist had committed the acts that she was accused of, but it was not until now that the court ruled that murder and attempted murder were involved. The attempted murder was that of an 8-month-old boy, the son of a relative. In the murder, the victim was an elderly, developmentally disabled woman at the Eilinen Rehabilitation Center, where the defendant was working. The court found that the defendant had acted with firm determination in both cases. The poisoning of the baby took place in 2007. The fact that a defenseless child was involved was taken as an aggravating circumstance. The murder, which took place about a week later, was executed according to a meticulous plan. The defendant was also found to be of sound mind in a psychiatric examination. Police. An examination of the exhumed body strengthens murder case against a nurse. Deadly. Levels of morphine found in remains of 91-year-old police suspect that a 26-year-old nurse, who has been held on suspicion of killing 2 mentally disabled residents of the Eilinen Rehabilitation Center in Ilojärvi with overdoses of insulin last summer, might also have been behind the death of a 91-year-old woman at the health center in the city of Nokia. Medical examiners found deadly levels of morphine in the woman's exhumed body. Police say that the suspect was involved in caring for the woman in the last stages of her life. The death of the 91-year-old woman is one of the cases re-examined after suspicions were raised over fatalities that had occurred under the watch of the suspected nurse. 5 bodies were disinterred in September, and the investigations into the causes of death are still ongoing. Police began to investigate the activities of the nurse after a young child who is a relative of hers suffered insulin poisoning at a summer cottage in Kuru. This led police to look more closely at the deaths of a 54-year-old man and a 79-year-old woman who were mentally disabled. The nurse, who was working at the Eilinen Rehabilitation Center in Ilojärvi, is suspected of killing them with overdoses of insulin. She is also under suspicion of trying to kill a 72-year-old mentally disabled man in Eilinen. Police say that the deaths in Ilojärvi and Nokia had no connection with the insulin-induced death of a 21-year-old woman with cerebral palsy who died at the Lehtimäki Institute in South Ostrobothnia in July. 2 women who worked at the institute are suspected in the Lehtimäki case. Analysis of the other bodies unearthed in Nokia revealed other substances as well, and Paavo Tuominen of the National Bureau of Investigation NBI says that so far the 91-year-old woman is the only one in which it is clear that the deceased had a lethal dose. The morphine content in the blood of the 91-year-old was nearly 4 milligrams per liter. In her final days, she was administered some morphine for pain, but the standard therapeutic dose for a pain patient is less than 1/30th of the amount detected in the analysis. Erkki Vuori, a professor of forensic chemistry, notes that what constitutes a lethal dose of morphine depends on the patient and the conditions. Just 1 milligram per liter of blood would induce an exceptionally toxic state. Insulin was found in all of the exhumed bodies, even though only one of the deceased had had diabetes. It is not easy to determine if the insulin was injected or if it was naturally occurring. Samples have been sent to a German doping laboratory to determine whether it is possible to distinguish between the two types of insulin. The laboratory has experience in this, but it remains uncertain whether samples from the deceased can yield reliable results. It is a laboratory for the living, Tuominen points out. The nurse herself has denied any connection with the deaths. Tuominen says that the investigation has not